starts out with a drum beat that's so abrupt you feel as though your head might explode. And then one of the most recognizable guitar riffs in classic rock history, not to mention that sing-along chorus that everybody knows by heart. Speaking of that famous guitar riff, it changes speed and climaxes near the end. Apparently the band did this on purpose to mimic the act of sex. They don't call sex, drugs, and rock and roll for nothing. This song came from a basement jam session where the power went out. They nearly forgot the song, but they pulled it off. They were used to off-the-wall happenings anyway, since they got their band name from a game of Scrabble. Coming up next, the story behind this all-time classic from one of the only remaining members of the band. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you have ever spent hours upon hours hunting down that certain record or rare B-side or limited edition box set at the record store or many record stores, you're gonna dig this channel. Make sure to take a second and subscribe below. Click the bell so that you always know when our latest videos and interviews drop. We also have a Patreon. It's in the description down below. There you're gonna get more content. You can even become an honorary producer, and we list you and you help us curate this music history. That's what it's all about. So it's time for another edition of our series, Revelations. This is where featured artists take us for a deep dive into their greatest songs and their greatest albums, insight you won't find anywhere else. So this 70s classic starts with a drum beat that just ruptures your skull, and a guitar riff that has become part of our collective psyche. And then a chorus that we all sing to the top of our lungs whenever it comes on classic rock radio. It just grinds us up for 8 minutes if we're listening to the right version. Overflowing with sex, no drugs, all rock and roll. I'm talking about Slow Ride by Foghat. Foghat, a British band, they had relocated to the US East Coast at that time, and their longtime bassist Tony Stevens was burnt out. He ended up quitting the band. Up to that point, they'd had success with a gold album, but not that one song that would put them on the map, make them a household name, if you will. And that's where our story begins. Founding member and drummer Roger Earl tells us the story of how Slow Ride came to the band, along with current guitarist Brian Bassett. He's also part of the interview. He was the original guitarist of Wild Cherry. He's also been a Molly Hatchet. Come on here. And Foghat. As we go into this interview, I do want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear, the glasses that I wear all the time. Right now, when you go to Zenni.com, you can choose from over 1,100 different frames for under $30. You go choose the color, shape, and style, and you can try them on virtually to see how you look before you buy, and they'll deliver them right to your door. Check it out today at Zenni.com. Here's the story of Slow Ride. Well, 1975, one of the greatest classic rock songs ever was released. It's become a classic rock standard.
What was that?
Slow Ride.
Oh.
Huge breakthrough hit for you guys. Went to number 20 on the pop charts, but number 14 in Canada. But it's so much bigger than its chart position because it's become one of the top classic rock songs of all time. It's a song that was developed in one of your classic jam sessions.
Nick Jameson had just joined the band on bass. It's in 1974. And I was staying up in Bearsville, up in Woodstock at the time. Nick Jameson was the resident engineer there. Nick and I became real good friends. We'd play badminton and tennis and go out and jam at all the local bars and stuff. Rod Price and I owned a house on Long Island, and we'd had the basement soundproofed, and we went down in there. And it came from a jam. It was basically it was a John Lee Hooker riff. Instead of like playing it like a straight, like a shuffle, it was, we turned it into like a straight 4/4 time. The whole arrangement was done down there in like a couple of jams. And Dave said, I've got some words that might work with that. And actually, Dave sort of started writing that song when we were in Savoy Brown. He wrote a song there, like a ballad, called Take It Easy.
Good days will have passed, so take it easy, baby.
Wasn't the recording of the song that made it to the record, wasn't it interrupted by a power outage or something?
Yeah, we were recording up in Sharon, Vermont, on top of a mountain, middle of nowhere. It's the first time the band had really taken time off to record and get serious. We were recording it, and just before it went to the sort of drum and bass breakdown, we just started it. The power went out. It often did up there, you know, some sort of drunken whatever would run into one of the poles and the whole state would go out. So we left it, came back a couple of weeks later, and Nick said, just play along with it, all right? And I went, okay. And I just started playing, and Nick came running down the stairs in his clogs and picked up his bass and started playing, and we joined the tapes together.
Well, it's common for an R&B song where the tempo is congruent with the lyrics.
Like the sun that shines on a rainy day, it's a cloud of love.
But it's rare for a rock song to do that.
I did write the beginning of that song.
It starts out with exactly.
Nah, nah, nah.
How did that come about? Is that something, because when you hear that song, that is the first thing you hear, and you know exactly. I mean, it separates it from every other rock song out there to know what it is.
Nick Jameson did that again. I have to give him credit. He said, "Hey, Rog, just go bang." Me like, he said, "That's it." All right, and then, you know, Dave would come in and off he went. Nick Jameson is an absolutely brilliant musician. He's so annoying as well. Really. He picks up any instrument, and within minutes, certainly within an hour, he's playing it. They hate people like that.
I know.
I hate them. You know, us mere mortals have to struggle all our lives just to master our instrument or a song or a tune.
Then he decides to become an actor.
Hate Nick.
You know, plus he guest starred on several Seinfeld episodes, and he's a voiceover actor.
No, I love him. He's my brother by a different mother. We're still in touch.
And it's sort of addendum to the history of Slow Ride. We re-recorded it on one of our last releases, and we had two bass players on there: Craig, who was the featured bassist on the live recording, and Nick, who was the bassist on the studio version. While they both played on it. And I ended up mixing that, which was interesting. You can hear Nick and Craig on either side.
You know the rhythm is right. We got
I always loved the 8-minute version on the album. That was always my favorite.
feels so good. I like it, yeah.
Most classic rock stations will play that version.
Yeah, well, actually, when Nick, when he was mixing, I wasn't really mixing. I would be like the tea boy. I'd get Nick, cheese and biscuits and a cup of tea. I would say things, I'd add to it. I'd say things like, "Can you turn the drums up, Nick?" But we finished mixing Slow Ride and the B-side, which was Save Your Lovin'.
Save your loving for me. I need.
And we drove back down to Bearsville from Sharon, Vermont. And we went straight to Bearsville's offices, and Paul Fishkin, who was the president of Bearsville. "No, it's a bit too heavy and it's too long, that'll never get played." And it's probably the only time that I've actually said, "No, this is what we're going to do." And Nick and I put our foot down, and then he said, "Well, you can't put an 8-minute song on the radio." And we said, "Yes, you can." "Can we swear?" "No." And Anyway, the stations started editing it anyway, and Nick said, "Right, I'll do a proper one." So, but yeah, it was other times on other songs we let the record company pick the studio. The band always maintained control over what songs we played, how we played. We never did songs that were asked by the record company.
Everybody plays their parts so well on that. That's a song where you hear all that distinctly. And I mean, Nick's bass has got that eroticism to it.
Erotic bass.
Well, that guitar lick comes in, the lead into the first chorus. You're right into the chorus.
Yeah.
That's what's great about the song is it punches you right in the face once you hear the drums start.
Yeah, it is sort of erotic. It's like most rock and roll songs, it's about doing it, you know, or I've just done it, or I'm thinking about doing it again with you, darling. Or let's do it slowly and take our time. And then, of course, at the end, you sort of, you know, hurry up a little bit and start doing it out real vicious like, oh, I'm sorry, there's children listening, aren't there? Edit that bit out.
I mean, when I was a kid, I thought it was about driving around in a truck with your friends.
And then what it was. That's what it is, children. It's driving around in your car with your friends with the top down and singing Slow Ride, Take It Easy.
Well, it's a true classic that can break open any like lame party.
Funny, we talk about, I taught some classes at a college, and, you know, with everybody on earbuds now, that communal listening thing is something that, and I said, you know, do that. Get together with your friends, whoever has the best stereo, and put on your favorite tunes and crank it up. I mean, I think that's sort of missing it, you know.
Music, I always felt was something to be shared. That was a thing I always got when I was growing up, sharing music. And as Brian said, sitting in your front room, whoever's got the best stereo, great JBLs, and like, you know, put it on 11.
And pass the album cover around,
liner notes.
Which is funny. I think that's why vinyl's coming back.
It is coming back. You're right.
I think that's a big part
and people
of it.
are sharing that. They're sharing in that experience. Prominently featured Slow Ride, of course, in Dazed and Confused, one of the main songs, and capturing that moment in time, because that movie, of course, was all about the 70s. What did you think when that came out? Because it repeated itself back into our culture.
I mean, I think really it was surprising. I think it more came about, at least for me, you know, you were there when obviously on the original releases, but it was more people mentioning it to us than us actually realizing what was going on with it. You know, it touched a lot at concerts. Even now, people come up and, oh yeah, I remember hearing those songs on that and Dazed and Confused. So I think we became more aware of it by listening to the fans talk about it to us. And then actually when it was out, of course, I wasn't in the band when it was released, but.
You weren't?
Wow.
It's like you'd always been here, Brian.
It shows the staying power of a song like that when it's not only used in like one film, but in the 80s, early 80s, used in FM.
Coming at you soon at the speed of sound.
And it's used in Nighthawks, the Sylvester Stallone movie.
Universal Pictures presents Sylvester Stallone in Nighthawks.
Right. And then later on, I mean, just in the last few years, Bad Moms, The Defiant Ones, that documentary. And then TV, I mean, The Sopranos and Seinfeld. Those are like the iconic shows of its era.
But I just find it interesting, certain songs, you know, lend themselves to, you know, so much to different storylines. So diverse, like you said, between, you know, Sopranos and Seinfeld. I mean, you know, to have a song actually fit both of those scenarios is interesting. Yeah.
You know, I still get chills when I hear stuff on the radio, one of our songs. In fact, we did a local radio show this morning with, they actually played one of the songs off our new album, which they won't do anymore. You know, back in the 60s and through the 70s, DJs could say, this is a great tune. And they would, like, you know, put their reputation on the line. And, you know, and that's what music's all about. People saying, you know, this moves me.
And discovery now for the new generation is TV and is on streaming. Like, you know, when they hear, like Family Guy used it twice.
Peter, what are you doing in there?
Nothing.
And Dexter, and then young Sheldon just used it, you know, and that's how people find that. On video games, a Guitar Hero. Was also using Grand Theft Auto.
That was really interesting because for a while there, and still do, we got a whole bunch of young kids coming, bringing their Guitar Heroes to be signed and stuff. You know, you get 6, 7, 8-year-olds being turned on to a bunch of old bastards.
Yeah, I got real, when the Guitar Hero came out, I got real popular at my daughter's grade school.
Yeah.
So it's just, well, that's a funny story, but I went in to play Christmas carols for them. I played like 3 Christmas carols, and then they're like, can you play I Just Want to Make Love to You? And the teacher's like, what? How about I Love Rock and Roll? You know, and the kids are moving closer. It turned into a rock concert, but instead of a Christmas party. But, you know, but we just signed a Guitar Hero guitar last night.
Yeah.
You know, he brought his son's guitar in, signed it.
Yeah, actually, we get a lot of younger people coming to our concerts now. You know, 16 to like 30 or 40. The people around our age, you know, they stay at home now and they say, oh, there's something, I'll have a cup of tea or something. No.
Commercials too. I mean, it's been used in the Chili's commercial.
Chili's. Chillin' since 75.
Firestone.
At Firestone Complete Auto Care, whatever you drive a Firestone.
What do you think about it now, playing it from so many years ago? You re-recorded, as you said, and you've been a part of the band for, well, since 1999.
Years, actually.
Yeah.
Well, it's, you know, it's the last song we played. There's nothing we can hardly play after it. You know, maybe Maybelline. You know,
Maybelline.
That's about the only one.
Should we do that tonight?
Maybe, let's do it.
Let's do that.
But you know, it's still as exciting to play now, and it's mostly from the feedback you get from the people. That's the song that the audience is waiting for. And when you get that feedback loop going, and then the song itself just has this natural crescendo of tempo and everything. And so even after playing it so many years, we still get a big kick out of it. Every night's slightly different still. It's not, nothing's totally written in stone with it, especially when you get to the end. It just sort of like organized mayhem. And so it makes it exciting to play every night, you know?
Well, you've talked about your influences and Chuck Berry and the British Invasion and everything. Was there a bit of 2 or 3 songs or one song that influenced that at all?
I guess Muddy Waters was probably my biggest musical influence. I loved just about everything he did.
I got a black cat bone. I got a mojo too.
There was one album he made called Muddy Waters at Newport, right? And it was just the most incredible record I've ever heard.
Baby, please don't go. Baby, please don't go.
I used to sit in my shed, like, you know, playing drums and trying to get, Francis Clay was the drummer, and trying to get it down. And it was like, I can't play like that. But the music was fantastic. One of the greatest records ever, I think.
Probably the foundation of, you know, most British blues bands. You know?
Leave us a comment about this 70s masterpiece. What are your memories of this, no doubt about it, classic rock standard? What are some other rock classics that you think we ought to put under the microscope? Get interviews with the principals. Let us know below. If you like our content, we do invite you to subscribe below to be a permanent part of our growing community. And make sure to check out our other content on Patreon. The link's in the description. Check out our merch, including the Vintage Years collection. Help us keep the music alive. Till next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.